Hello and welcome to Kopua Say Hello. This is a podcast brought to you by the National Museum of Natural Science in Taichung, Taiwan. Today, we're super excited to take you on a dive into a group of animals that's simultaneously slimy, they're shiny, and they're full of surprises. Meet the mollusks. Yes, this is a fascinating and marvelous group of animals. They slither, they squirt, and they sparkle. Are you ready for the trip? My name is Dr. Audrey, and I'm excited to go on this journey with you. So to start off, as usual, we ask a question. What exactly is a mollusk? Mollusks are a huge group of animals that live pretty much anywhere on Earth. You can find them on land, in your garden most of the time, in the ocean, and almost everywhere else you can think of. Who are the mollusks, though? Most of us think about snails and clams, octopuses and squids, and some really rarely seen ones that you might see on social media. These are the stars that are really colorful and they're really charismatic. Actually, if you ask scientists, though, they estimate that there are over 85,000 species of mollusks. So they're a really, really popular and populous group. And the other really fascinating thing about them is they're actually part of a family that's been around for 500 million years. When you think about that, that's a really long time, especially since most of us can compare that to dinosaurs, right? These are the huge, charismatic megafauna when we think about paleontology and life on Earth. So these guys, dinosaurs, have only been around for 230 million years. So that's a huge difference between 500 million years and 230 million years. So there are basically two groups of mollusks that we think about when we picture them in our mind's eye. They're the kind that have shells, and they're the kind that don't have shells. So shells might be some of the most famous accessories that mollusks have. As you think about a shell collection, most of us are always trying to collect the ones that are really swirly or they're spiky or they're just really cool looking because of their colors and their patterns. These shells are made out of calcium carbonate, which is the same stuff that we find in chalk and in limestone. Shells act like little suits of armor that protect the mollusks from predators and from outside elements that might seek to damage their soft interiors. And the other really interesting thing, and why mollusks are sometimes so prized by humans, is that their shells are so beautiful that they've actually been used as currency. For example, cowrie shells, which are fairly common if you go to a beachside shack looking for souvenirs, were once used as money in parts of Asia and Africa, and possibly in other cultures around the world. So we're still talking about those guys that have shells on them. Clams are a really good example. Most of us know what clams are, right? Because they come with two shells that attach and the two shells are hinged. These are mollusks that bury themselves in sand or in mud, usually in the coastal areas. So you might know the expression then, happy as a clam. I'll give you a moment to think about why clams might be happy. After all, they're usually just hanging out on the rocks there, sifting whatever goes by in their world as the water washes over them. So the expression, the English expression, happy as a clam, means that somebody is really, really content or satisfied with what's going on around them. But where did that expression come from? Last time I checked, I looked at a clam. It didn't seem particularly emotional, positively or negatively. But actually, the original phrase was, as happy as a clam at high tide. When the tide is high, the water covers and protects clams from predators, such as birds or humans, as a matter of fact, because they're delicious, who might dig them up. High tide is their safe zone. That's a time when they're undisturbed and theoretically thriving in their mollusky lives. And so when we say somebody is happy as a clam, It means that things are going really well for them. So next time you want to take a seafood approach in conversation and somebody asks you how you're doing, you can say, I'm as happy as a clam. All right, so we've spent some time already talking about all those mollusks that have shells. On the other hand, there are the octopuses, the squids. They don't have shells. They're like, who needs that? They decided they'd rather be flexible than protected by a thick shell of calcium carbonate. So these guys, the octopus and the squids and the cuttlefish, they're part of the cephalopods. They are like the circus performers of the mollusk world. They're fast. They communicate by flashing colors at each other. They can hide, they're smart. And they all do this underwater. A really exciting example is the octopus. Did you know that they can solve puzzles? And they can open jars? And they can actually recognize individual people? Sometimes when you put an octopus in an aquarium in their tank, you come back in the morning and that guy is not around anymore. They're super good at escaping. Related to the octopuses are the squids. The giant squid is an extreme example of a member of the squid family. Giant squids can grow up to 40 feet long. Their eyes can be the size of dinner plates. If you ever visit our museum in Taichung, be sure you look for the giant squid on display in our rotunda. And actually, here's a separate little hint for you. A very important person on the staff of the museum actually studies squid and studies their animal behavior. Do you know who that is? All right, so finally, we've talked about really exciting animals, right? They don't seem that exciting sometimes because they're kind of floppy and they're just hanging out there. But there's one more group I wanted to mention today because they get a bonus point for being toxic and actually for being a source of potential disease curing for human beings. The cone snails are a group of predatory marine snails that are found in tropical and subtropical oceans. They're named cone snails because their shells are cone-shaped, right? Not too much of a stretch of the imagination on that one. But these cone snails are extremely exciting because they are expert hunters and they're armed with venomous harpoons. There are actually about 800 species or so of cone snails. They range in size from a couple of centimeters to more than 6 inches long. They might look slow, but they are actually highly efficient predators. They use a unique hunting mechanism that's called a radula, and their radula is shaped like a tiny harpoon. This harpoon is actually connected to a venom gland. And so when the snail senses a prey swimming by, usually a small fish, a marine worm, or other mollusks, it shoots the harpoon with incredible speed, and the prey is paralyzed in an instant. The snail then reels the prey in, using that harpoon like a fishing line, and guess who's all set for dinner? Cone snail venom is a cocktail of several hundred toxins called conotoxins. Each toxin actually targets a specific nerve or muscle in the prey, so it shuts down the prey's movement and sometimes even causes death. It's so potent that even humans can be affected. But here's a really cool thing. Researchers have discovered that some conotoxins can be used in medicine, particularly for pain relief. So scientists are actually studying components of the cone snail venom for potential treatments for epilepsy, cancer, and even other neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. So the next time you think about mollusks, yeah, sure, think about those super fast moving ones or the really flashy ones with their chromatophore communication. But also think about how delicious they are and how some of them might actually help human health. That's all for today. It's good to talk with you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye.